I am really excited. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel La Fraise. I'm Noémie and this week I wanted to talk about everything I've been sewing in the last 2 weeks. And actually it's been projects that are a bit smaller and I didn't feel like making a dedicated video for everything, but I thought let's do a roundup of everything together and kind of like run you through everything I've been doing and sewing. And so yeah, it feels like I haven't talked to you for so long, but actually I have. It's just that I've been talking about watercolor and the Elisa blouse, but I feel like I haven't sewed with you for so long. So here it's a little bit of a vlog, a little bit of everything, but I will be here to narrate everything that's happening. I have my computer here just in front of me if you see me looking here, and that's because obviously I have all of the clips from the last 2 weeks and I'm going to refer to them to see what I did and what I need to talk about with you. I hope the light isn't too funky. It's the end of the weekend, it's Sunday night, so it's kind of like my last chance to squeeze a little bit of filming in, have the video edited and ready to go on Monday. So, you know, really like, let's go for it. The natural light is going down, but I'm gonna try to speed through this so that I'm finished before it's actually fully dark. I hope you can't hear, the dishwasher is also currently running, but as I said, this is the last moment I have to film, so if you want to have a video, it's gonna be with the dishwasher as ambiance noises. So I started by making an Atelier Brunette La Jupe, which I have actually just finished. So we now Sunday night and I finished it just before starting this video, so it's here. I'm quite pleased with it. I fully French seamed it. The pattern actually wants you to just put a bias tape around the seam here, but I did stitch in the ditch so that it's extremely neat. I have the cutest, I'll show you a close-up of the buttons, but I have the cutest buttons. I'm so happy with it. As you're gonna see, I started a bit on a down moment with the sizing. I should have been a beauty style YouTuber because I would be pretty on all of my videos. I realize obviously when I'm sewing, it's a day off, I'm, you know, in my cozy clothes, I don't have makeup, and I'm like, I look like this on every video because it's always the case. Like I'm always sewing or knitting, so well, you see this part of me, but I realize maybe I made life choices which don't make me look at my best. Oh, I should put on makeup to sew, but then yeah. I wanted to come here because I am going to start my La Jupe, so the skirt from Atelier Brunette, and I'm reaching a tough moment, which is I measured myself, and it's good to remeasure yourself from time to time. I have my, you know, measurements saved somewhere, but actually the measurements I have saved don't match the reality of me now. And so I'm like, okay, so if I want to make this skirt, I have to make that size, and that size is a size that in my head, I think many people have it. I don't want to say a number because I think we all have a different number in our head, but the size I need to make is a size I don't want to make. We already know from me making my Arden pants a size too small that there's no point making something that's not going to fit you, because then you're just going to have to give it to your wife or to your sister if you don't have a wife. You know, it's like there's no point making something that's not going to fit you. So emotionally, it's a bit tricky right now. I don't like making this size, but I'm kind of telling myself if I were a size smaller later, I can just add an elastic in the waistband and bob's your uncle and we're done with this issue. So instead of making a size too small, putting the effort into a skirt that's then not going to fit, I am going to make a skirt that fits me, because I deserve to be dressed in something of the right size. And I just wanted to say, if you struggle with the size you have to make, I feel you. It can be difficult to realize, and I really like, for example, I'm making another project right now and the size are just ABC, and you know, you can't compare with your average shop brands. Here I can, it's a bit tough, but I'm taking you as my witnesses that I'm going to honor the size I am, and I'm going to make something that fits and not spend time sewing that I'm not going to fit in. It's not fun. We can agree together that it's not a lot of fun, but I think it's worth it. And in the end, every time I'm gonna wear the skirt, am I going to think of the size it is, of the fact that it's gonna be so beautiful? Realistically, I'm just going to enjoy the skirt. So that's it. That was just my little thought for the morning, and let's get on sewing. But yes, I decided if you're going to make something, you may as well make it fit. So I traced the right size, but I have to say I find it a bit shocking that I'm almost top of the size range for Atelier Brunette. I mean, I'm not the smallest, but I'm also not that large, and if you can't be larger than me and fit into the patterns, that's not really size inclusive. And I'm actually preparing at the moment a video about kind of my capsule wardrobe 10 must-have patterns, and I had La Jupe Atelier Brunette in it originally because it's really a skirt I love. But the fact that it's so not size inclusive is really making me doubt putting it in, because I don't think it makes sense to promote a pattern that's so limited in the size range. So yeah, so the fabric is actually fully reversible, so it was easy and hard to cut at the same time, because it means that you can't mess it up, but also you just need to be careful afterwards when you sew to make sure you put the right way around. But so the fabric doesn't have an up or down or a right or wrong side, so it was really easy because you don't need to, you know, try to find which side is the right one. It's all good. So yes, I just wanted to show that little particularity in the fabric. I did fully French seams in this pattern. That's really something I'm working on at the moment because I don't have a serger, and when I started sewing I was doing French seams everywhere, and then I was like, oh, it's really tiring, like I can maybe just zigzag everything, because then I discovered that zigzagging was a thing. But actually when you have a thin fabric that frays a little bit, a zigzag is just not the same. So now I'm really back to enclosing everything, absolutely no raw edges and no zigzag edges if I can help it either. This one is my other skirt from Atelier Brunette. Actually, an extra thought. So this is the zipped version, and I have made now the buttoned version. And I feel like I would have liked if they just squeezed everything in one file, because I had to reprint the whole pattern to make the buttoned version. And I understand that some of the pieces are quite different with the zipped or the non-zipped version, but I feel like there would be a way to kind of like squeeze both together, and it would have been a bit less of a pain, to be honest. Because yeah, I had to reprint everything a second time. I don't know, I feel like could have made it better. But in this one, it was in my zigzagging years. My seams are really fluffy, even though it's zigzagged. It's all after the zigzag, it's all kind of like fraying slightly, and it's just not as neat, and that's nice to have inside your skirt. And sometimes it frays so much it kind of like dangles here. See, for example, here I have a little bit that dangles. It doesn't go past the hem yet, but sometimes it does, and I have to make sure I trim off the first so that little strands of fibers don't like poke out of my skirt. So that's not ideal. Also, little tip I wanted to show, I keep all of my thread as I cut them in the lid of my box, and this way when I'm finished sewing I can just gather them, put them in the bin, and it's really easy, and they're not everywhere around the table. I used to keep them in a pile kind of somewhere on the table near me, but then you just need to once put your project on top of said pile, and then it's such a mess. So having them in the lid really means I'm not going to put something on top by mistake, and that helps a little bit with the messiness of keeping the thread. I just wanted to give that tip. I find that putting them in the lid of my box really helps, and since I've been doing this, it's much easier. So with the hem of this skirt, it was quite difficult because, and if you have any top tips for hems, really let me know, but it's quite a wide hem. And so when I folded it, obviously because the skirt, you know, it's a triangle, so you're not folding like a square, and it folds perfectly. So it was really messy inside, and despite pinning it to death, it clearly wasn't working and wasn't making for a very neat hem. So what I ended up doing as kind of a little trick is putting a line of gathering stitch to lightly pull it, and that allowed me to kind of like gather the inside of my hem. I realize I'm maybe not explaining it super well. If I find the original article where I found that, I'm going to link it down below because it was very helpful. But so I gathered it a little bit to then help fold it. It means that it's such a mess in the inside because there's all those little gathers, but happily on the outside it's really neat, so it worked quite well. But I have to say, if you have any tips on making hems on any circled or curves area, I'm glad to hear them. I'm sure people in the comments are also going to be interested to hear them. But then also, I found that this viscose, it really grew every time I was pressing it. I had to be so careful to press without dragging anything and without making anything stretch. And even by being very careful, I find that it was really hard not to stretch the viscose, and then when you try to do your hem or you try to match your belt, it's all stretched, and I find it quite challenging. I'm happy that despite being a challenge, it ended up being very pretty On the outside, it's a bit of a mess inside, but that's the only part that's a little bit messy. The rest I'm quite happy with. When I finished my skirt, my wife was like, your top stitching is visible on your belt. You haven't done a stitch in the ditch. And my God, I should never have watched the Great British Sewing Bee with her, because now she has so many opinions on my sewing. And I just want to say, if you are a partner of a sewer, if it's 11:30 and they just finished the project, they're probably a bit tired and annoyed already. Don't tell them anything about the top stitching. Just free relationship advice from me. Just don't do it. To be honest, after she commented, I did unpick some of the top stitching and redid it. It looks better now, but on the moment I was really not ready to receive that feedback. And finally, I wanted to show you the buttons on this skirt. So I found the prettiest button. I'm really in love with them. I really wanted something a little bit pearly, but when I found the buttons that were actually pearls, I found that it looked a bit too much. It was a bit too formal, making the skirt a bit too classy, you know, a bit too princessy, because the pearly buttons are like all rounded and everything. Also, you can't sew them with your machine because they have a shank. And I was like, I'm way too lazy to sew them on by hand. And they were not really the look I wanted. So I kept looking and I really couldn't find what I wanted. I was like, oh, if I go for wooden buttons, it's gonna kind of like make the look of the skirt a bit less elevated than I wanted. And then I find those buttons, they're pearly, they have the little branch on it. I think it's really, really beautiful. It's exactly the right level of formal because they're slightly glossy and pearly, but then at the same time they have this little nature element on them, which I really, really like. So I'm super happy with those buttons and how it ended up looking. So in the same fabric as the skirt, I made the secret project I talked about when I actually bought this fabric, if you have seen that haul. And the secret project was a robe for a friend who's getting married very soon, and a couple of weekends ago was her hen's weekend. And during her hen's weekend, I offered, I mean, it was a present from everyone, but made by me. And we gave her the robe that she can wear on the morning of the wedding to get ready, because, you know, if you put on makeup, you can't have your white dress underneath because you could put foundation, etc. on your white dress. So it's kind of like her getting ready robe. I've also fully done French seams inside and it's very luxurious. But okay, now I realize, friend of mine who sometimes watches my video, and if you see I'm going to talk about your robe, I'm sure you're going to watch, keep liking your robe, please. I'm going to make comments, but for my fellow sewists in there, don't like your robe less because of what I'm going to say now. But so I did put my little handmade by Noémie tag in it. So it's always nice for a present, I find, to have the little tag in it so she can always see it's from me or made by me. And then I had to put, so the robe is quite simple. It's grown on sleeves. It has a little pleat at the base of the neckline, and then it just has this collar piece all around that goes down the robe. And it was so difficult with this viscose because it kept moving, and as you can see on the video, I pinned it to death and still it was growing on the second side. Oh my gosh, this is really hard to explain. So I sewed 1 centimeter along the edge, and then I had it coming over and I sewed it back top stitch on that side. And that was so difficult, and that was also the front, like that was the right side that I was folding and was creating all of those folds. So in the end, what I have done is I kind of gathered all of the extra material and it's hidden in the neckline when she's not wearing it, so you can actually see all of that fabric that I had to put somewhere. But she almost always has her hair down, so I was really thinking it's gonna be fine because with her hair down you can't see that part anyway. So I really decided to, obviously pinning it to death, trying to stretch that fabric as little as possible while sewing it, but I still had extra fabric at the end, and I kind of gathered it all in the top to kind of like hide everything in. It's not super neat, but it was a very tricky situation to sew. I have to say, I was really like, don't know what to do. I feel like if I was to do it again and I didn't feel some raw edges, I might just fold the neckline in two and just sew it like that all around. But then would I put a bias binding on the raw seam? Like, you know, if you don't have an overlocker, I find that it's just not as nice. So really unsure what I could have done differently. I think I just need to be more careful when I press not to stretch the fabric. I was careful, but it still was stretched clearly. She was really happy receiving it. It's exactly her colors. It's, I don't know if I mentioned, but it's the same fabric as the skirt I have made, and in general I'm quite pleased with the project. I find it was a really good gift project as well. It's not too involved. I guesstimated her size by trying it on me and trying it on my wife and kind of trying to think compared to those two experience how it would fit on her. But it's such an oversized pattern anyway that it doesn't really matter. I feel like a robe can be a little bit wider on you, it's probably fine. Okay, then I fixed my patchwork dress again, and you might have seen my Mending Monday vlog where I already fixed it, and then you're wondering, Noémie, how many times do you need to fix that dress? But it had still one thing that really bugged me. So in the Mending Monday vlog, I just fixed the fact that the lining was shorter than the shell fabric, and so actually the shell fabric was ballooning around, so I wanted to fix that. I fixed that. But then the weather in Belgium being so bad, I didn't have any opportunity to wear it, so I thought it was fine and I left it at that. But then when I put it on, I could really see. So the way I've done the skirt is I took a tank top pattern and I just stuck a gathered skirt onto it. And the issue is that the pattern for the tank top has a slightly longer back, which I didn't think was an issue because I was like, well, I am making a rectangle with my gathered skirt, so I don't mind if the back is a bit longer for the skirt as well, because you know you have your bottom to account for. Generally that takes a little bit of space, so I thought it'd be fine. But actually it just happened that this was cutting right onto one stripe from the patchwork. I think it's a bit difficult to explain, but I think you can see on the image there was really that line, and I had this family thing. I wanted to wear the dress for the family thing. I put the dress on and I feel awful because the back is dragging and I just feel like it's very unflattering. I find it looks like your back and bum is drooping, and I just felt awful. I was like, I have 15 minutes before we need to go, can I fix this dress? So I was like, literally, I'm just going to sew that wedge away. I'm just going to do a big seam inside, you know, and just sew it away. And so I just removed my dress and I did what many sewists have done in their lives, I'm sure. I have sewn in my underwear to then like fix that dress, and I'm so happy I did because I felt so much better straight away. So I've literally just sewn that little bit away. Much better, much happier with the result now. I think the only thing that shows a little bit is that I had the top stitching going on at the waistline, and obviously where I have done the little wedge there's no top stitching anymore, but I don't think it's important enough that it really matters. And also while filming this I realized I still have some markers on my dress. I did put a little bit of water on before going to my family thing and look a bit more presentable. So yeah, and here's a clip of the dress fix. You can see that it's still a little bit droopy at the back, but it's not as bad as it was originally. And I have to say that dress for a family event, you know, when you're gonna maybe eat a little bit, like I don't know how your family events are, but for us we basically eat all day. It was a really big thing with the whole family, so you just arrive and eat until 6 p.m. when you leave. And having such a flowy dress that didn't really touch any part of my body, I just felt really, really comfortable. I really, really enjoyed wearing it. I thought that maybe I wouldn't feel dressed up enough, but because the dress is such a statement, you do feel quite dressed up, like you do feel like it's special enough, but at the same time I just felt really comfortable. Next on my mending pile, my wife had a winter coat where the pockets had totally died, and she had already sewn the lining back shut quite a few times. But if you know those coats, the lining is just not really good quality, so it kept reopening. And I said, don't worry, I have some cotton pockets pre-cut, because sometimes when I try to use up the leftovers I have of fabrics, I just cut a bunch of pockets. This way I have them for future projects. Because for example, in a viscose dress, I do enjoy having cotton pockets because they're a little bit more sturdy. So I chose some pockets that would match the best within the coat, and I sewed all around the pocket except the very end, because I still needed to go through the pocket to finish sewing. So I will sew that little bit of the pocket shut once I've finished the mending. I pinned the pocket onto the lining at the very top, so I did tell my wife she will have to be careful. If she jams her hands too much in her pocket, the lining will rip at that point instead of in the end. So it's not like it's a silver bullet and now it's never going to break again. Like, I think she'll still have to be a little bit careful, but at least it's attached a little bit more securely, I guess, and now she has the cotton as well to help. And then I wanted to sew it with my machine because I hate hand stitching, and it wouldn't fit. The pocket was too small. I really couldn't fit it on my machine, so I had to hand stitch everything, which is the truest sign of love that I can give to someone. If I have done hand sewing for you, well, I'm probably married to you actually, let's face it. So I hand sewed everything, and oh my god, so I see it now, some of the stitching are a little bit wide, but it's fine. And then I sewed shut the last little piece of the pocket before putting it in pocket, all ready to go inside the coat. And then I fixed the other pocket the same way, and her coat was ready to go. So I just thought I would show this to you, because I feel like having holes in your pocket is something so common, and sometimes just sewing the lining shut isn't enough. But if you have some cotton on hand, you can totally do this easy fix, and then your coat is good to go again. Okay, and then I had a tiny bit of Liz Taylor fabric. If you know me, you know I love my Liz Taylor. It's actually a friend who had a little bit leftover fabric and gave me the leftovers she had from the fabric. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this? I knew I kind of wanted to do a blouse. I also didn't have so much fabric, so I couldn't do something too crazy. And the dressmaker, who is a fellow YouTuber, had made this free pattern for a very simple blouse, so I thought I would try that. And actually, so I'm going to link everything down below, but the dressmaker, she makes all of those patterns for free. Like, I don't know if they're all free, but she has so many free patterns. You just put in your size into her website, you say the seam allowance you want. Like, I don't understand how it works. It's magic to me. But you put all of your information, and then it comes out with a pattern, your size, the seam allowance you ask, everything as you requested, for free. So I was really like, wow, it's crazy. And originally I was a bit worried, because I was like, oh, if it doesn't turn out nice, then do I want to talk about it? And I don't want to talk negatively about another YouTuber. But actually, it's amazing the work she's doing for free for us. So if you are a beginner sewer, go and check all of those free patterns. Start with those. She also has videos when she shows how she's making them, so you have the tutorial going with it. So really an amazing resource to start sewing. And so yeah, I have made her poppy blouse, and I'm quite happy with it. I didn't really follow her instructions. I went a bit rogue. I didn't want to have a facing for the neckline, so I wanted my trusty French seams everywhere. I didn't want a facing for the neckline. I just had a bias. And originally I thought, oh, I'm not gonna do her thing for the sleeves. I'm just going to hem them. But I have stretched them while hemming them, so it really wasn't pretty. I have filmed this little clip. It was by that point really late at night, so the light is terrible, but I think you can see that it was stretched, that it wasn't looking really good, so I have re-sewn it. I just cut that hem that I did, and I sewed a little cuff on top, and it's not perfect also because the fabric was stretched a little bit past that. So first the cuff is creating a bit of a wing effect almost, and also the fabric had been a bit stretched, but that is fully my fault. That is not the pattern, so just so you know. And I'm still really happy with the result, and it goes really nicely with my new skirt, so really nice outfit from the work I did this weekend. But yeah, I thought I really wanted to mention her. She has also a code for free. I mean, honestly, it's amazing everything there is on her channel, so definitely go and have a look. Okay, we're reaching the end, and lastly, I also top stitched 2 of my t-shirts. So I was really wondering why it was bothering me so much with those 2 t-shirts. Actually, most of my t-shirts are from really soft jersey, kind of tencel jerseys, etc. And so you don't really feel the seam line, and it never bothered me. But I had that t-shirt where I had top stitched the seam allowance in the back, but not in the front, because I didn't want the zigzag to be visible. But so it meant that I could really feel the seam allowance flapping up here. And the seam allowance was also quite big compared to the neck binding, so it almost felt like it could be visible, and kind of like it couldn't, because obviously the neck binding doesn't get smaller and the seam allowance doesn't get bigger, but because it was almost there, it really bothered me to feel it. So I decided to be brave, and I got my twin needle out. The reason why I don't like to use my twin needle is 1, tunneling like everyone else, and 2, my machine is slightly off time, and with the twin needle you can hear it scraping on the side, and that really stresses me when I hear that the needle is scraping on the side of the machine. But I thought, it's literally 15 centimeters, 20 centimeters, like we're gonna be fine. I adjusted the tension. It was okay with the tunneling, but not so good. I heard that the only way to have a good result with the twin needle is to put water-soluble interfacing, so that it's really rigid when you sew, and then it washes away afterwards. But it kind of bothers me because I find it a bit wasteful, but then at the same time you have a garment that's beautiful forever. But I don't know, I don't like having to use something. I don't know, I feel a bit icky about it. But it was fine, it worked with the twin needle. I wanted to do the same on a sports top I've made, and that absolutely didn't work with the twin needle. I think the stretchiness of the fabric really made super strong tunneling, so in the end I just went ahead with the zigzag. I think on the darker fabric it doesn't really show anyway. And I'm so happy, it feels so good to have that seam allowance top stitched in place and no longer flapping up. I'm really happy I've done it. It was bothering me so much with those two tops for a while, and now it's done and fixed. Okay guys, we're reaching the end. I have a few extra notes, which are bras. This is going to make no sense if you haven't seen my bra making video. Please go and watch that if you haven't seen it, if you want to understand what's happening now. I was convinced that what I needed was to move the dart on the pink bra. But then actually re-putting it on, I was like, I don't know what I was on when I finished this bra. It's not at all the dart is perfectly placed. Or maybe my breast has changed shape since, who knows. But I was really like, had it on. It's not the dart, it's just not a supportive enough shape for what I need. Honestly, I was like, I think I can change the dart, it's not gonna change anything, it's just not supportive enough. But you guys have delivered big times. So first, I'm going to put in the description down below all of the shops and online resources to buy bra making fabrics and notions. Thank you so much for all your recommendations. I'm going to share all of this because it's too good to not share. I also have a couple of bra pattern designers that I'm going to put down below. But really, there were two firm favorites that came out in the comments, and those are number one by far, the Black Beauty bra from Emerald Erin. And the Black Beauty bra is actually the bra that goes with the kits I have bought. And the second one is the Maya bra by Afi Atelier, and that one is free. Other resource that came out a lot is Liz Sews, which is a YouTube channel. She makes so many bras, she has so many videos about how to hack them, how to measure them, how to make them, like such a great resource. So down below I will link the Maya bra and the playlist from Liz Sews for the Maya bra, the Black Beauty bra, and the playlist from Liz Sews for the Black Beauty bra. The reason why my next bra sorry for the puppy running around, he's having a great time. The reason why I'm going to go with the Maya bra, even though the Black Beauty bra is more of a favorite. One, it's free. So I feel like if it doesn't work out between the bra and I, it's free, and I'm going to try to make it from leftover materials I have from the blue and the pink bra. So even if it's a Frankenstein looking bra, blue and pink, and it's really ugly, I just want to try it for the fit, so it doesn't matter to me. But then also I really have a problem with the seam that goes across the Black Beauty bra. It's really a seam that I hate on me. The way my breasts are, it just doesn't work. Liz Sews has a tutorial to change the seams to a diagonal seam, but because the Maya bra already has seams that work better for me, I thought, going to try this one. If it really doesn't work out, I'll go to the Black Beauty, but the Black Beauty means not only I have to make it fit, but I also have to hack and change the seams, and it feels like a lot. So all that to say, we are not changing the dart as I thought. I am going to go into more structured bras, even though it's really not something I thought I'd do, but I'm realizing that the more bralette style that I have been making is not going to work for an everyday option for me. So going to make that, and obviously I will document it all for you. But if what you want is a tutorial, something that's clear, something that's made by someone who understands what they're doing, Liz Sews is there for you. With me you can have the struggle and the fact that we can understand each other and grow together. And if you like to see me suffer while making bras, then please come back. But I am going to put all the good resources from Liz Sews in the description because I think it just makes sense. She's really good at what she does. Really, so many, like quite a few of you mentioned her, and I started watching all of her videos and I was like, her bra collection must be so amazing. It's so nice, everything that she has, and I feel like once you have the pattern that fits you, you must be sorted for life. But yeah, still working on that. Bras are still in my future, but next week I'm sharing my plans of what I'm gonna sew later on, and you'll see I have already quite a lot going on, so I'm not sure when the bra will come in, but it definitely will come back into my to sew pile. because I still have this one kit, the most beautiful kit, and I want to make that bee bra. Okay, random PSA slash pet peeves of mine. Just want to say, because the Great British Bake Off has started again, and one of my lifestyle YouTuber has started to sew as a hobby. And I have to say, I really have a problem seeing people cut their pieces. And I'm sorry if that's you. I'm saying it so that maybe you think about me next time you do it. If you have a piece of fabric, and if there's patterns on it and you need to, you know, make the pattern match, or you want to make sure that the flower sits just in place, like, fine. But imagine you have red fabric and it's plain. If you have a pattern piece, don't put it in the middle of the fabric. Put it near the edge. You don't have to put it on the edge if you're not sure, blah, blah, like, you know, but just a little bit nearer the edge. It physically hurts me to see people on camera cut their pattern pieces in the middle of everything. It creates so much waste. And I understand that everyone isn't as crazy as me with the trying to minimize waste and, you know, making patchwork dress to use every centimeter of scraps they have. But still, really here the lifestyle YouTuber was cutting interfacing, and it was hurting me because interfacing, like, you know, you can really go towards the edge, and so you don't waste a lot, and I do not like waste. So I just wanted to share these pet peeves, because some contestants are also kind of doing it on the Great British Sewing Bee, where I try to be understanding that they are sewing under time pressure. And I also think, like, I would lose on the sewing bee, also because I don't have the skills, but just because I physically can't cut in the middle of everything. But if you can't cut efficiently, I think you're not going to be finished on time. So I sympathize and understand that they have to cut quickly. But just in general, just wanted to say, if that's you, if you realize that you put your piece right in the middle of your fabric, maybe put it more towards the edge, and this way you have lots of leftovers to make nice little, you know, scrap projects and fun things, a little something for your kids who are smaller than you, or a little paintbrush wrap for the painter in your life, etc. So just wanted to say, because it's really been grating me to have to see this on telly. I have one last thing in my notes, and this is a bit outside of sewing. So if you want to leave, this is your moment. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week for more sewing. But I have bought myself some shoes. Obviously, but like, I don't make shoes yet. And I have bought myself some shoes, and I just wanted to share because I'm really happy with them. So I don't know if you see this situation where you're kind of grumpy, you're kind of grated by something, but you can't fully put your finger on what. This is what was frustrating me in life. These are Stan Smith Adidas shoes. I love them. They are second-hand from Vinted, but I think second-hand like new. So I bought them off someone, but they hadn't worn them. And this was my only pair of closed shoes. You know, like not leather shoes, but like once it's getting a little bit warmer and all of your thicker boots are really too warm, this is the only thing I had. Lots of reasons. We moved last year. We had a little bit of a moment without an apartment at all. Like between the previous apartment and this apartment, we had a gap where we didn't have an apartment at all. So I didn't want to move very old shoes with us. So I kind of just got rid of the very, very old shoes and just kept those ones. So those are the only ones who came with us while we were between apartments. But because we were between apartments, it was also not a moment to buy new shoes, because we had to move again and I didn't want to have too much new things to move with us. So I ended up last summer with only these. And then it was winter, I had all my winter shoes, and then spring arrived and I had only these. And I didn't really realize that I had only one pair of shoes. I mean, I knew I had only one pair of shoes, but I didn't really realize and didn't really think anything of it. But those were my office shoes, my brunch with friends shoes, my concert shoes, my walking the dog shoes. Walking the dog being the annoying one because it was constantly making them full of paw prints and mud, and it was really annoying me. And I realized also, once it rained and your shoes are wet, you don't have another pair of shoes to put your feet in. And I realized that as an adult and a human being who loves herself, I deserved extra shoes. And so I have gone from having one pair of shoes to having full pair of shoes, and I just wanted, like, just so happy, I just wanted to share them with you. I know that if you are a functioning adult, maybe you're like, wow, you are so happy you bought shoes, congratulations, but look, it was a bit of a process. I don't know why it took me so long, but I am very happy, so let me show you them. First, the unsexy but incredibly comfy dog walking shoes. So those ones don't even have shoelaces to lace up, so you just slip your foot in. The Skechers, I don't know if they are old lady shoes, but I do not care. They are literally, it feels like wearing slippers outside, and I wear them really only to walk the dog. They are a sensible dark color, so that if I get stepped on by all of the dogs, doesn't matter, they'll survive the dog park. They go in the wash, that's also great. So yeah, so that's my Skechers. You just slip them on, slip them off, so super easy to go and walk the dog. A sensible dark color, very, very happy, so comfy. Like generally inside it's like foam and it just feels like walking on mattresses, so love those ones. And then I have a new canvas shoes. Those are Vans. They're Vans, but I feel like they're the lady version of Vans. And they are this very nice blue lilac color that I really love. If you see my headphones sometimes when I sew, they're kind of that color. And I don't know, I just find them really nice. I find that a canvas shoe can be useful when it's a little bit warmer and you want something a little bit cooler than the Stan Smith on your feet. The Vans are, I have really wide feet, I have to say, but so the Vans are quite wide and comfortable as well. The Skechers were also a wide fit, by the way. So yeah, so Vans, but make it ladylike and make it a statement to say I like fiber arts on them. And finally, the shoes my wife hates, but I feel like sometimes she should just not say what she thinks, because if I am not sure about something, if she says she doesn't like them, I tend to want them. I don't know what that says about me or about a relationship, but here you are. And those are kind of my cool, I'm a cool girl, I do things, I go places, I'm cool. Did I say I'm cool enough? I really like mint green, I like the peach, it's a bit neon, and I don't know, I feel like it's the same purpose as the Stan Smith, but just a different one, and it's a bit more comfy because it's really thick sole and a bit more cushiony than the Stan Smith, which can be a little bit uncomfortable. For example, if you go to a concert and you stand for a long time, they're not super cushiony, so those ones are gonna be a bit more comfy. So here is the story of how I went from 1 to 4 pairs of shoes. Just wanted to share that little happiness with you. So this is really random, but I have foxes in my garden. I live in the city, and our resident 2 foxes had 4 babies, and they are so cute. So we actually have 4 pups in the garden at the moment. And to be honest, they're a bit of a nuisance because they bring a lot of trash into the garden, but still, it's like 4 little pups. I think on the clips I have here, they're only 3, but I just wanted to show you the little foxes because they're so cute and they play with the magpies. The magpies hate the foxes because the magpies have just their nest and they're trying to protect their territory. So just random city cuteness for you. That's life in Brussels with our foxes. And if you were wondering, Milo hates the foxes. He hates having to share his garden with foxes, but you know, it's life in the city, you don't choose who your neighbors are. This Friday I'm coming at you with my new knitting vlog because I've started my new knitting project, and next week I'm doing the roundup of all of my spring makes and my plans for summer, and I'm going to the fabric store. I'm going to 3 different fabric stores this week, one on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. That's my plan. So I'm gonna have a ton of new fabrics, and I have in particular one new sewing plan. It's one, but I think it's gonna be a muslin, the thing, and the thing I'm making twice. So it's gonna be quite a big project, and I'm so excited about it. It's something totally new in my sewing life. I'm making it for a friend because it's something I don't need myself. So excited, really, I can't wait to share this with you. I'm really like bursting, and I can't wait to go and shop for that fabric. I'm not going to my usual fabric store because I need a very specific fabric for it as well, hint hint hint. I'm very excited. So okay, I'm sorry, it's not very nice to tell you how excited I am and not telling you, but I am really excited. So yeah, so I hope you had, no wait, it's Monday for you. Well, I still hope you had a nice weekend if you're watching this on Monday night. I hope you have a great week. Don't forget that you can make anything. If you enjoyed my rambly video, you can like this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to find your way around here again in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!